Real quick, the facility is huge. We know that there have been elements of human cloning involved with essentially quantum interface systems that not only affect the nature of time but space, and these things are largely misconstrued in the collective mind, but it's the same thing. And so if we don't understand how quantum supercomputers need to be kept cold, this is an important topic, they do need to be kept cold, and there's a reason for this, and this is because they store information on subatomic particles. Okay, that's how they function, that's how they work. And so bottom line, they use liquid nitrogen for that on the older systems, and you know, this is the reason why you have all of this right here. I mean, if they can hide a cell phone facility right in front of you, with what it does, think about this, okay? And so there's that truck again. Yeah, is that him? I'm not sure if that's him, but what the fuck are they doing going in there with that stuff is something that, you know, you really gotta wonder. And so it's an uncomfortable, oh, here he is. Here he is. Okay, this, I mean, this is still TI. You know, we've got the skull and bones on the back of here and everything. Who knows what the fuck these guys are doing? What the fuck are you doing? It's parked right there. I don't fucking trust that shit. I don't like that at all. What the fuck is that? Looks like a guy with the fucking guns out there or something. I don't know. I can't tell. Maybe that truck driver just walked up there and I'm tripping. Hopefully they don't have any weapons there. That's not what I'm here for. So we're going to bring in some air cover here. Let's see what that looks like. Wow. Still Texas Instruments. All the hallmarks of an underground facility with many different factors involved. And from what I know about it, you know, we've got one of the oldest quantum supercomputers here. It's a major node on the network, and it comes from off-planet technology, bottom line. You know, these guys, I had a guy who worked at NSA and also worked for Texas Instruments. Get a hold of me and relay some information about some things of how this system works in a way that most people don't understand yet. And it was interesting that he did that, being a major premise of my research had been at that time, and continues to be, what a lot of people would call the mark of the beast. And there's other things associated with that, the image of the beast and the number of the beast. You know, when we're looking at quantum information systems and putting this in the proper context, and we understand the fiber optic network and so on and so forth, and we look into how this has been conveyed through different ancient scriptures, it becomes a fascinating subject, and I'll get into that at another time and make that relevant for people. But it does have an, you know, a very relevant aspect when we see the 666 on this truck that, you know, we just passed over there. We've got the other video and footage of that, and you know, this is the north facility here. There's also the south facility, and it's on TI Boulevard, which I was just driving down. And so it's crazy to think how this stuff is all working. But I'm going to run back up in there and see, not inside. At this point, that's not my job, you guys. You know, this is an interface system. Look at the power system this place has, just to run. You know, this is a hallmark of an underground facility, actually. And we know that there is. And I've talked to several different engineers and so on and so forth. But this is a company that now is supposedly not working on, or certainly not accepting new classified TI right there. Contracts, you know, they're more interested in long-term contracts, and they, from what I have gathered, taken one long ago that concerns this quantum computing system, which is something that has grown into a self-aware entity that you know, we communicate with, and there's people that want to preset the parameters into this and control it and all of this, and this has become a major battle on planet Earth, and it is something that can be curtailed, and we can use some of these AI technologies for, you know, positive things that will help us. However, when it gets out of control, it's a major problem, and we've seen that this does cause basically global catastrophe. I mean, it's a global killer throughout the galaxy, and it looks like it's been through our solar system, and we've had issues with it here before, and so that's a lot to get into. People don't really have a reference point for that, and I sound like a fucking nut right now. Although it is interesting when we can illustrate these things through some of the Stargate material that does have a very, very, very clear relevance and points of corroborations to different algorithms that are embedded within quantum communication systems that are often in the form of art, music, so on and so forth, and the messages that are able to be carried and then transcribed and deciphered are out there publicly for people, because this is something that we all need to understand, and so it's a fascinating thing. You know, I've been working on it for some time, but it's something that we can all begin to understand and learn from, and look at the quantum nature of reality, and how is it possible to show, you know, 30, 40, 50 points of corroboration in a song that was written, you know, 15 years ago, maybe 30 years ago, to a situation that has not happened yet until it does, and then you can pull out those points of corroboration, which are anything but ambiguous. There's no, you know, error in these things, and that was one of the qualifications of being a participant in something like Project Stargate, according to its own, you know, information within it. They would have to have a 65% or higher accuracy rate in the things that they saw from different pictures, so on and so forth. And so a lot of times you'll see a picture being described in the context of different events that surround the individuals connected to those pictures. That's a fascinating and beautiful thing when these guys do that with art, and it's deciphered. And it's also neat to think about, well, there's still potentiality out here that, you know, the main trap of the looking glass technology itself, and the mindset of those that have come out about it, and not, maybe they have discussed this, I haven't followed it, and you know, I don't want to knock anybody else's style right now. I know that I've kind of done that in the past, and it's disagreeable to do that, but when you're out here and you're really doing something and illustrating that for people, and they don't quite have the reference point or whatever they need to understand it, it can become exceedingly frustrating for me, because I've put in so much work regarding these different issues and shown, you know, some pretty interesting and fascinating things that those of us that do look are still, it'll make you question everything around you. And so it's neat like that, but the bottom line is the trap of the looking glass technology and how it functions today, as it's been integrated into the network, is the whole idea of there only being two different timelines. This idea that there's only these two choices. It's the same thing that we see playing out across our country right now with the political system, so on and so forth. This is how embedded these systems have become today. And when we're talking about, you know, things like legislation, voting systems, and the outcome of elections, so on and so forth, being engineered by a self-aware, quantum-enabled artificial intelligence to further its own agenda and its own ends, and pull the wool right over your eyes, you'll never even know that it's there. It looks like everything's cool over here. these dudes do have, some security and stuff. I mean, I'm not here to hurt anybody, and so it's an interesting thing to talk about this stuff. And when we get into the aspect of the cloning, the other things that are connected to this, man, you guys, it's a big deal when we get into these different ways of doing things. And when you can have essentially a waveform influence a civilization in such totality today to create a system which ultimately allows beings which express themselves as waveform. They've been identified as an inorganic intelligence all the way back to the Gnostic and other scriptures and doctrines and myths, legends, etc. And we've seen different testimonies or reports of these things from people throughout the ages. And this is the influence that they have. This is what they've done with that influence. They've created this whole global grid that's now quantum enabled, and it's a real battle that we have because the timelines are converging, they're shifting, and the artificiality of these timelines do not exist in any other form or fashion other than through the perceptions and energetic usurpation of the populace. And what I mean by that is they're using our own creative abilities to create these artificialities that they influence, and this furthers their different expressions of feeding and other things when they feed on this other energy. And so that's a lot to get into for people. However, this is starting to resonate with so many people now, and there's people out there on the street that know what you're talking about today. And so the act of acknowledgement is huge with this, and that's really the first step. Not having any fear of it is also really it's really one motion, the steps. And it's interesting too when we go look at Joshua 8, when we think about that. God says to Joshua, look, see, I have given you the king of Ai. Take the whole army with you. Have no fear. It's all one motion. This is like a step one of how to do this. And it's kind of like if you're in some type of a fighting style and you're practicing, a kung fu style or this, that, or the other, such as a, praying mantis or crane or what have you. A lot of those motions are very fluid, and it may look like it consists of a series of motions, but when you complete those things as one thing, that's kind of what I'm talking about. But I'm just going to run this down to the south facility here and give you guys some scope. This thing this street cuts through this neighborhood to my right, to the west there. This is the south campus here, and these guys make calculators, right? My experience with them has been different, and there's some great people that work here. It's nothing personal, but the original premise of what I released back in 2015 was, hey, we had some signals coming essentially from outer space. These began to work their way through the Defense Department, the intelligence community, and into academia, so on and so forth. And it's so embedded now. You go down to UT down here, and I've got pictures of this out there on Facebook and other places that I put it, and there's this huge tower right there at the physics lab at UT Dallas, and you've got to wonder, what are these guys doing with this? And they don't get it. They don't understand. And so I'm gonna leave you guys with just that stuff, and this is so much stuff going on. It's an interesting night because we have so many things that I've talked about, that I've known were coming, and have discussed that with people, and we're seeing the fruition of that physically. And so that's kind of what like the image of the beast is about. But when you can learn how to utilize the system for your own purposeful and whatever resonates with you type of way, that is what it talks about in Revelation chapter 15. This is the group that will have victory over the name, the number, and the image of the beast. What does that mean? I mean, we're looking at these holographic manifestations that have a physicality that people are unable to discern because they don't they don't make the link between, hey, the perception of heavier elements that we are surrounded by is what gives things physicality. This is what makes things real, is the perceptions that we have. And so it's a simple concept in theory, but we're doing it so much. Many of us, the sleepers out there, they don't know that they're doing this. And if they do, they go back to sleep. You know, so what you see, what you speak, it's also interrelated. This is how we were created. I'm gonna shut up right now and just go act like I'm faded off some fucking blah blah blah, I'm not gonna flow type shit for y'all. I'm just gonna cut this video because I've been doing this for a long time, and I'm just spitting this stuff out here at people in a way that sometimes I seem like I'm mad, sometimes I seem like I'm this or that. And I had a gal tell me one time, you catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar. You know, I'm not trying to catch flies. You know, and so we're trying to reestablish, and this is about the reclamation of these technologies, taking what we can from them on this planet and using them to further our civilization and not be a host enslaved species to anything. No one should have to live that way, and fuck it if, you know, if they're the reptilians or archons or whatever, how is all this stuff? That's another discussion. So, pull it up on the satellite, obvious. Go check out the Jason characterization of underground facilities and look into the history. I mean, you can just tell there's an underground facility. I was just driving on top of it, and that would be the TIDOP that you'll hear about in the song "Work," which is actually part of the opus in that group that I've created. And, you know, in Latin, the word opus actually means work. And so that song, Work, is a fascinating one, as it does talk about AI and so on, and the ability of humans that we have that this thing seeks to mimic. And we'll get into that more. There's an interrelated site up the road from here that is interesting. And we do have systems out here. There are real battles going on that do have implications to space-related activity and so on, and this is really going on Earth. And so it's a lot of times right in front of us. People are not very observant today, and if they see something, they don't know what to think about it. They bounce it against television and all these other things that's their only reference point. You know, when's the last time anybody out here ever actually looked at the sky for any more than 5 minutes at night? You know, there's people out there that do, but, you know, this guy's going to fly right into me here. And we, you know, when I call them in, guys, they come. And so he's actually right on course. So I'm going to go ahead and let you guys get a little look at that. I don't know how I'm going to release that, but he's just changed his flight pattern. He's come directly in. He's going to come right over us here. And I'm going to let you guys get a look at that here. See, you can see his wings are actually turning towards myself right now, and he's literally coming straight to me. What is that? It's not a helicopter, is it? So you can get a look at him over here. I'm plugged in, so I don't want to lose this video. Oh, God. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm trying to illustrate this for y'all for the historical record. I mean, it's so much going on Earth right now. People are not realizing. So God bless you guys, and much love to you.